So with Rhett, I was going to do a groundwork Liberty pattern for I believe it's just like the Liberty Association. I think it's the first pattern that they have, but I think I was practicing it at Liberty and um, not online. So it might have been the online pattern and I was just doing it at Liberty. It might be the Liberty pattern. I don't exactly remember, but I wanted to do that with some positive reinforcement and kind of just talk through my process. So first, it's important to kind of work in a smaller area. So he doesn't have as many opportunities to go and like look at other stuff. And then he kind of connects with me a little bit easier because he's got less distractions. So it starts off with him just kind of stopping in the middle here. So I want to reinforce him for stopping and standing still right next to me. So I want his head next to my shoulder. And I'm just looking at the pattern on my phone because I'm really bad at memorizing things. So you stop and stand in the middle, and then you go to one circle to the left and then one circle to the right, I believe, at the walk. And just like I did with the dressage not pattern, but test, same kind of thing, I'm going to break this down and reinforce little pieces of it. So we walked a few strides. I clicked him for walking in the correct position. And then we walked a few more strides, and then same thing, click him for the correct position. And then the important part here, and sometimes that I lost track of during this pattern, is that I'm also reinforcing where I'm feeding. So I want to reinforce where his head is right next to my shoulder. So I need to bring my hand back like that and reinforce him here. So what I did there was had him, he knows how to like target my hand and follow my hand. I had him follow my hand target, and what I should have done is just fed back. At the time when I was doing this lesson and this video was filmed, I hadn't really explored like where you feed and position of the feeding and how that affects the horse. So that is one thing that I would definitely change in this video. But the rest of it is decent. So, but yeah, and now we do that same loop, and then this time I just did a few less reinforcers so he can follow next to me, and I don't have to reinforce him quite as much. And then the goal is to just um, make those gaps longer in between. So it's do one circle to the left at the walk and then another circle to the left at the trot. So again, we're breaking this part down. Since it's new to him, a couple of strides at the trot, click, and then feed. And I should be feeding him slightly back. So just kind of putting my arm kind of like behind my back behind my shoulder so that he can be reinforced for having his head behind me. So here his head's being I'm reinforcing him and his head's slightly ahead of me. So that could become a problem later on. And since he's been reinforced there, he might continue to go forward and forward and forward. And if I don't catch it, then I have a horse that's way in front of me and he's ahead of me. And most of the time you don't want those things. So that's what we're going to be working on now. Like if I redid this video, that's what I would be working on. That's the main thing that I would change here. At the walk, I have it pretty good, but obviously at the trot, he's going to be more forward, and I just need to balance that out by feeding him back. So I should be outstretching my arm back toward his chest, and then having him back up a couple steps, and then be reinforced. So that is the main takeaway from this video: is where you feed is really important, and I just didn't realize that at the time. So. There's lots of little nuances and details in clicker training that you don't always think about and you don't always know. So this is one of them that is very important. We're going to work on that same thing, just going the other direction at the walk. So this looks pretty nice. He's obviously got the walk down. It's when we get a little bit faster where he just wants to go ahead and go into the trot. So that's the one thing that we got to work on. And then another thing is I would definitely reinforce less for the trot once he's kind of got the behavior and he knows the positioning he's supposed to be in, and then reinforce more for him walking next to me, standing still next to me. So now we've gotten into trot. See how he's kind of coming at a little bit in front of me at an angle. We don't want that. I don't want him to kind of block me. This looks better, but you see how where his shoulder is now, and his shoulder is next to me. So, and I'm asking him to back up. I just need to fix that by reinforcing behind me, and that would have fixed it. So, yeah, as soon as we get into trot, his shoulder is up next to me and even with my shoulder, and that's not really what I want. If that's the position that you want, that's perfectly fine, but be aware of that in the beginning and then just try to maintain that throughout your training. So again, see how he's turning his head now, and this can happen really easily with just teaching the horse to lead as well. This is where I kind of got into issues with Castor because he's a similar type of horse as Rhett was, where he wants to kind of get in front and he wants to go forward and go do things. And see now Rhett's kind of turning to me and he's just kind of confused because he's been reinforced so many times for kind of being ahead of me, and that can get a horse definitely getting ahead and then kind of curving in front of you, kind of cutting you off, and we don't want that. It's dangerous, obviously, especially when we go into those faster gates, and then Rhett has front shoes on, and we just that's not something we want to do. So all of this stuff here where I'm kind of just putting him back into position um, is not really necessary if I would have just been feeding him in the correct position to begin with. But this isn't really a correction, but me kind of fixing it here is a good option. Like I just kind of asked him to come next to me. I reinforced him for standing next to me. And then I kind of it went off pattern a little bit to give him a little bit more space. I thought that might be the issue. And sometimes that would definitely help, but I think just where I was feeding him was the main issue here. So but yeah, this is kind of the little pattern we were working on. And again, he's following me really nicely. He's following my body language. This looks nice because I want kind of that lean forward when I go to kind of jog off to be his cue to trot right there. He's staying with me, he's stopping with me, but it's just I need to be there. Now I'm kind of feeding behind and he's thinking bend his head versus back up. That's okay. There we go. That's just what I should have been doing the whole time. And see how I put my arm back and then he had to take a couple steps back and he got reinforced in that correct position? That's what I should have
Yeah,
been
there
doing
you
the whole
go.
time. So I should have held it there until he backed up because he's just reaching with his neck and kind of really over bending that neck. There we go. I did ask him to back up there, but that's where I should have been reinforcing instead of just asking him to back up because that's going to have more weight. It's where he gets that food. This is much better. See how big of a difference he is position wise? This is what I should have been doing the whole time. Because now it sets him up to go into that next behavior movement in the correct position. Now he trotted off and now he's a lot more even. His head is a lot more even with my shoulders versus like I reinforced him really close to me and then had him back up. But that then the backing up didn't really get reinforced and then he's just going to go back into that front position because that's where he's getting the food. So this is a cool little video on kind of some problem solving, what not to do, and then kind of you can see the difference where I started to correct that issue.